Hello, my name is Kai, and I like to travel, learn, and tell stories. And let's keep talking about China. So, I learned from my friend that there was there were like a few terms for Trump, like taco, became popular in the States. Trump always chickens out. But I found out in China, especially now with this second term, like the rest of the world, it's just embarrassing that he was elected and he's making decisions. If you're inside the US and you're unaware of this, America's dominance as a world power is largely obliterated, partly due to Chinese technological primacy in most fields in the world, and their rapidly increasing trade deals, largely due to Trump's first and second terms. Nobody wants to economically deal with the U.S. Oh, plus they're buying all the scientists because Trump isn't letting immigrants work in the U.S. anymore, which was the U.S.'s one of their strongest strengths for 200 years. But aside from China becoming so dominant in most fields of the world, if you are from the US and you decide to travel, just know that nobody respects the country you're from at all anymore. They might like Marvel movies still, but Trump is that's what people see. Like when Obama was president, and you were like, "Oh, I'm from Montana." "Oh, the U.S.? Oh." They're like Obama, and that's your reference. Now, "Oh, Montana? Oh, the U.S. Trump." That's the association you're going to get now as a traveling U.S. American. And the associations are very not smart and extremely ignorant and very harmful. Now, they're not going to dislike you. I've met many a traveler, people in every country. China, I was just in China, right? And people are still happy to talk and everything. But the attitude toward the U.S. was bad, and people were like, "Oh, what a weird one-off this is," when Trump was elected. He's really embarrassing, but we can just ignore it until the U.S. gets back to itself. Now that he's been elected a second time, it's kind of good in a way that the U.S. has knocked off their pedestal. But even though money bought the second election, he was still elected a second time in the U.S. Despite gerrymandering and money in politics and all that, the fact that Trump became the president the second time has permanently damaged the reputation of the U.S. and its citizens. And not just the reputation, like I said, generations of scientists, trade deals, abandoned by countries and being made between other countries, independent of the U.S. because they know they can't. If you're going to elect someone like Trump a second time, countries don't want to deal with you. And since he was elected his second time, I've talked to people from, I don't know, a few dozen countries. Travelers meet travelers. And during the first term, some people were like, "No, I like Trump. I'm interested to see what he's doing." And now, no, there's no, because he was different the first term. But I think by the second term, every European I've met now, and Europeans were interested in Trump. I'm sure you've seen the right-leaning elections recently in many parts of Europe. But after they realized he, literally doesn't know what a tariff is, and he imposed them on almost every country in the entire world without understanding what they are or how they work, there's not a lot of interest in Trump even as a novelty anymore from all the people I've talked to since his second term. There's pity. There's a lot of pity. Anybody who finds out I'm a U.S. American And it comes up pretty quickly that I don't support any of Trump's extremely harmful policies domestically or abroad. There's a lot of bewilderment and pity for the US American who voted against Trump, which folds right back into the current events of myself that brought this up. In China, like I said, nobody respects him. U.S. respect is in the toilet especially because he was elected a second time. It can't be counted as an aberration or anomaly. So anywhere you go, like a country has different names for Trump. And I didn't know that China had a lot of them because they liked him a lot in the first term because Chinese people like rich people. Rich people are morally good. Because that's what Mao Zedong told them. That was like in the 70s that ended. And Xi Jinping is very pro-capitalist, if it's national capitalism. But in general, the population of China, the general pop, likes money. So during his first term, they were like, well, he's rich. You can't be that rich without being a good, smart person. They were shocked to learn that all of his money was given to him by his dad, and he went bankrupt several times, and he doesn't pay his employees. Or that the reality show is not reality. That's a big revelation for a lot of Chinese people. So I was talking to my Chinese friend who does not like Trump, and during the first term, he was one of Trump is rich, so he's like a good, smart person, right? And then now during the second term, he's like, this guy is so stupid. He's so really dumb. He sounds so dumb. And so he told me the name that Chinese people have for Trump. They don't say Trump. It used to be, I can't even remember, whatever, who cares? Now he's called super unreliable Trump. That's like because characters in China, words are just one syllable. But basically what they call him turns into super unreliable. And that's like his nickname apparently in China now, which very accurate moniker. Wow, I talked about that for a long time, considering all I had to tell you was that his nickname is super unreliable. So let's get back to China because I loved it. It was so much fun visiting all my friends, and I wasn't there too long, and the air tasted metallic, like I said, when I got off the plane. That was gross. But that was the smog. Man, if there was no smog, it would be so fun to continue living in China. But I just don't want to walk outside and taste the pollution in the air. But everything else was really fun. The place I stayed, the hostel that I had a room in, a private room, was there was a pool table. And I was really confused by it because China doesn't have hostels. They have binguan, which are sort of like mom and pop private hotels, and then they have big, large hotels, like chains. And I wasn't expecting to find a hostel, actually. I think it was on Hostel World or Booking. I can't remember. But I found a hostel that offered private rooms in Beijing, and that's weird. So I booked my 2 weeks there, and when I showed up, everything looked new. And like they had a water filter and stalls and clean tile, and they were trying to keep it clean anyway, which kind of rare in Beijing. They don't worry about cleaning stuff a lot, but the hotels are generally clean, and this hostel was clean. But there was a brand spanking new pool table, and I like the old billiards, and so I started playing, and the first day, I get this a lot. I get, like, when I'm excited about something, especially playing a competitive sport, when I'm interested in the first 10 minutes or really like the first game, I do pretty well. And I did pretty well here, and I won like 5 games in a row against 5 different people right when I started. But I also, this happens all the time, I get bored really quickly, and I just stop paying attention, and I don't... even if I like focus, like with pool especially, if I win a few games, then my body's like, whatever, let's go do something else then. And that's what happened here. So I did 5 games, and then this lethargy came over my body, and it was like, whatever, we're done. And I missed like the easiest 8-ball shot, and then I lost 2 games in a row. And I like playing even if I'm losing. So I was still having fun, but I just can't win. And the guy I was playing against was like, wait, what happened? Why did all of your skill turn off instantaneously? My skill's whimsical. What can I say? Shows up and departs as it chooses to. Oh, you know what? Since I'm talking about the pool table, I did play it the entire 2 weeks I was in Beijing because I do love playing pool. Even, like I said, winning or losing, or just for fun shooting by myself or playing against someone. It's just, I like the angles. It's a little tricky, but it's not very complex. You know, you just draw a line from the pocket to the ball, and then from that ball to your cue ball. So it's fun. It's just my level of engagement for an activity. And after that first day, maybe I just got tired. I did pretty well. I had a reputation. If I started playing, then people like to play me, and they were all acting intimidated because I won the first few games, and I was doing okay. For maybe the first week I was at the hostel, I generally won games. Oh, and then this kid who looked to me like he was 12, but I can't judge ages very accurately, I guess. Maybe he was 20, who knows. But now that I'm an old fart, all young people are just young. So to me, it looks like a 6th grader is walking in with a backwards baseball cap, and he picks up the stick, and he picks it up, and I just noticed immediately. I was like, "Ooh, he's the first guy in here who knows what he's doing. Like, is very comfortable holding a pool cue like that." It just looked normal, and then he asked if he could play, and I was like, yeah, sure. And he ran the table. I was interested in what would happen, and he got, I don't know, like 5 in a row in, and then I got a couple, and then he finished. And then we started a new game, and then he didn't run the table the second time. I think I might have won that game, but it was close. I had to catch up with 6. He got all of them in except the 8-ball, and I had 6 left, and I had to hit, and I got all 6 in, and then I got the 8-ball, and I was like, well, and I tried to play it cool, but that's about as good as I've ever done, especially on track to lose as I was. And then we played another game, and the same thing happened, except I missed the 8-ball the next time. I got 6 in a row, and then I was all caught up, and then I didn't get the 8-ball in, and he won that game. And then I never won another game against him, and he just wrecked it. He was better than me anyway. I think that first where I got 6 in and the 8-ball was a fluke, because he was dialed in. And he played for all day. After that midway point or something, any day I saw him out there. Oh, you know what? He left a few days before me. But anytime I saw that kid at the pool table, like we played at 10 a.m., I think, and he was still there at 6 p.m., just pooling it up. And people played him, and they were like, 8-ball, and they're like, yeah, and then he would destroy them and just keep playing. But he was not malicious about it, and he had no hubris. He just loved that game more than anything else, apparently, because it's all he did. Anyway, high five to that guy. He wrecked everybody else at pool. Okay, so I mentioned last time my friend took me to Hot Pot, but not spicy Hot Pot specifically, and I found out that not only him, the other one, so Sean and Terry were the main people I hung out with. They're in, like, city center Beijing. Nobody I know eats spicy food anymore. I have 0 Chinese friends who like to eat spicy food regularly now. But after I showed up and we go to restaurants, Sean and Terry both started, actually everyone I hung out with started eating spicy food again. Because if it's there, especially they're Chinese and I'm so obviously not Chinese, they feel like they should keep up because it is their cuisine after all. And it was really fun eating spicy food with my friends again, like back in the day. But it's pretty wild. I have a lot of friends in China still, all over the country. Okay, one of them, she had a baby, so she can't eat spicy food. Okay, that's fair. She says she's eating spicy food anyway, but she's like keeping it. She has a very strict threshold of how much she eats. But like the day after she gave birth, she started eating spicy food again. Because all the Chinese doctors were like, do not eat spicy food while you're pregnant. And she likes a lot of really spicy food. So, yeah, maybe she does regularly eat spicy food. That's good. Okay, yeah, I still have one friend in China who eats spicy food. But if you go to China, you'll be surprised. Chinese people do not like spicy food. Even if they go to a Sichuan restaurant or a Chongqing restaurant, they'll ask for bula, don't make it spicy, or weila, just a little bit of spice. But that's the chili oil. That's the base of that flavor. So I was very happy when my friends indulged me and ate spicy food with me. And they were also very excited to drink beer. Sean has a family now, so he doesn't drink that much. So whenever he sees me, he's very excited to drink a whole bunch of beer with me. And then Terry and me, I think we just used to drink constantly, and he has his wife who doesn't drink, so whenever he hangs out with me, he's also excited to dive back into some beers. So last time I mentioned how I found that traditional Sichuan restaurant, and when I went in, the oil was genuine Chongqing chili oil, which is very fresh, very tangy, very strong, with lots of Sichuan peppercorn, which makes the numb spicy flavor. And I was really excited to go back. But I had to eat food with Terry and Sean every day for at least 2 days. And so I didn't get to go back to that restaurant that was so good. Yet, I got back too late and they were closed. So the third day I got back, and I think it was 11 p.m. or something, but I ran around the corner and they were still open. And I had some beers because I was hanging out with a friend. But my Chinese was still working, and so I spoke Mandarin to one of the waitresses. She might have asked where I'm from, I can't remember. And then I was just that perfect level, like a couple beers in, so I had confidence in my language skills, and I wasn't questioning any of the grammatic mistakes that might give me anxiety. But I wasn't so drunk that I was forgetting things, after a few beers in. And I ended up talking to all of the waitresses. It was late, so there were still like 2 tables open, or two tables occupied, and they were prepping my frog order. But they didn't have a lot of work, and after they saw me talking to the first waitress, the other few waitresses came over, and they all just asked me questions about traveling and what I was doing, and I was fine, and I was speaking fluently. Well, not fluently, that's not true at all. I was speaking conversationally well with everybody, and it was really fun to practice my Chinese and to realize, like, hey, it's still pretty good if I can speak to 4 people at the same time who have 0 English. And I was so excited about getting the frog, and I asked them, hey, this chili oil is so good, it's so fresh, like Chongqing chili oil. And they were like, yeah, we're all from Chongqing. And it turns out every single person in the restaurant is from Chongqing. It's a Chongqing restaurant. It just says Sichuan hot pot because that was the name when the guy started it. But it's a Chongqing specific restaurant. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense because the flavors are so strong and they're so regionally specific. Like these are Chongqing dishes for sure. The flavor, not just the chili oil, but the different flavors they use and the fresh Sichuan peppercorns. Oh, did I mention it last time? They put in, instead of the dried peppercorns, a fresh sprig, so it's still covered in the green skin, like it's a fresh peppercorn. That's wild, and you almost never see that except in super fancy restaurants. But this place was like, hey, if we're making it real, we're making it good. And I asked them, I've been to a couple other Chongqing places around here, and the oil is not Chongqing chili oil, and the spices are not like Chongqing spices. And they told me, the waitresses, that they actually flew in the chili oil from Chongqing, which is pretty far. It's like easily 1,200 miles from Chongqing to Beijing. I thought I would check that just in case. That's almost exactly correct. It's 1,700 kilometers, which is just about 1,200 miles. Oh, 1,100 miles. Pretty close. So that's quite a ways just to make sure you get the right condiment in your restaurant. But if you do, I am a loyal customer because nobody else in that neighborhood is flying in drums of Chongqing chili oil or whatever they bring in there. Maybe they're just flying in the bricks of that good old hot pot base, soup base brick. So that was a really fun night because I got to practice Mandarin. And when I'm with Terry or Sean, both of their English is so good that we usually just speak English. So this was I guess I talked in Chinese in the hostel also. And then everybody added me on WeChat. Because if one person adds you on WeChat, then everybody else wants to add you on WeChat that's nearby. Especially if you're a weird-looking foreigner like me. And after I talked to those waitresses for 20 minutes while they were making my frog, I got to take that around the corner, and it's still piping hot, and sit down and enjoy, again, my favorite meal again. And it was so good. And the sprig of fresh Sichuan peppercorn was in there, which is so cool. And it was as mind-blowing the second time. The food, I love traditional Chinese food. If it's made well, you can find plenty of crappy restaurants, especially, I was in the middle of the city. I'm assuming that's why it was so difficult to find a genuine restaurant, not even Chongqing restaurant, but just a traditional restaurant. It does seem like the flavors are becoming palatable for everyone, so not as strong or regionally specific or frankly impressive, not as deep or complex as they are if you go to Xi'an and you get the rojiamo in Xi'an. That is a Xi'an sandwich. You can get them in Beijing, but they just taste like ground meat. They're nothing special. If you get in Xi'an, there's a bunch of very specific spices and the ratio of peppers and the chili oil they use, and it's a flavor explosion. But when you're in the middle of a city, especially Beijing, and people are from everywhere, it seems like all the flavors kind of mix together and they lose a lot of their complexity and depth. And that's why this restaurant was so exciting for me to find. And I ate that and watched Video Game High School, which is this pretty funny TV show about it. It's like, what's it called? Realism? Surrealism? Everything about the world is the same, except that instead of like football in the US, the most popular sport is esports, is gaming. And so you can get into Video Game High School, which is the most prestigious high school in the world, and by a series of fantastical events, a casual gamer gets into it. And then that's the series. And it was pretty fun, and it's really cool because it's independent. So you can tell these people are making it because it's a project they all want to make and they all want to be a part of. And the production value is really impressive. The special effects were amazing. I couldn't believe how good the special effects were, and then just kept getting throughout the series. I'm assuming as they got maybe a little higher budget each year. But from the first episode, this is an independent film studio, and it doesn't seem like there's a huge infrastructure or budget behind anything, but the special effects were very, very impressive. And not just the special effects, the practical effects, like when they were in the video game, they would just change costumes and shoot it differently with like a filter or in a different environment like the desert instead of a suburban. But it worked so well. Like the cinematography and the effects in the first episode is what kept me watching. And then I started having a lot of fun with the series, and it even had some dramatic turns that I was not expecting at all. Yeah, a very interesting show. I recommend it to people who can tolerate video games. It was made well, and it did a lot of interesting things that I was not expecting. I talked to the front desk clerk. I decided to stay for 2 weeks instead of 1 week because I was having so much fun in Beijing. And I hadn't bought my ticket to Mongolia yet because with the invasion of Iran, and then Spirit shut down, the airline from the US. Tickets were incredibly volatile, more than normal. And the prices that week especially that I was planning on buying my Mongolia ticket were just shooting up and down, mostly up. And I was trying to get a good price, and I was checking back now and then, but I had to check in, I don't know, I made an alarm, I think, to check in every 4 hours or something. And I did finally find a very good ticket to and from Mongolia, actually about 50% of the normal price, because it's such an isolated country. It's kind of pricey to fly in there, usually like $250, $270 one way, and I basically got half price there and back. But I was having such fun, and my friends were there in Beijing, so I decided to stay an extra week, and I went out and talked to the front desk clerk, who was cute, and then I was playing pool, and she got off work 5 minutes later, and she walked over and told me she got off work, and would I teach her how to play pool? And I like teaching people how to play pool, so I taught her, and she was flirty, and it was fun. Oh, and I had already been there for a week. That was the day I found out there were very few private rooms in the hostel, and it was just a traditional hostel, and it was surprising that I had a private room. There was me, and then, no, actually, I can't think of anybody else. I know I talked to this crazy beautiful girl who might have said she had a private room, but maybe there's only one in each gendered side of the hostel because there's a boy side and a girl side. And I was shocked because I was talking to a lot of people, and like a programmer was bragging about how much money he made, and there was another guy who'd been in Beijing a long time. But then I found out that they were just staying in rooms with at least 3 other people, and Chinese people still smoke indoors all the time. So imagine like a 10 by 10 foot room with 4 beds, and 3 Chinese people are smoking cigarettes around you. So especially the gregarious programmer who was very proud of his new job at Tencent, I was like, why are you staying with other people? And he said he just didn't know that private rooms were available, which, yes, I thought was weird. Weird answer. But I think everything is weird, and I think everybody is crazy. But that's the day I found out that there's not a lot of private rooms, and everybody else was staying in a dorm. Which is how Chinese... Oh, that's the other thing I guess I should say. There was not many non-Chinese people at this hostel. It was mostly Chinese people, probably over 90% Chinese people. And then, like, just from other provinces, not from Beijing. And then there was me and a teacher and that programmer, maybe someone else. But that's the weird thing about being so online like this, because when I was walking around, there are still binguans, there are still local places that you can go to and I'm sure get a better price than this hotel. A lot of these local or Chinese people were paying maybe 30 kwai or less than $5 a day for a bunk in a room, but you can get a room for that a private room for that price if you're just not in the city center, and you'll be right on a subway line, so you can get anywhere you need to go in the city. The city subway is fantastic in Beijing. So I didn't really understand, other than it is in the middle of the city, so maybe the prestige of its location, that's why they wanted to stay there. And like I said, Beijing is weird, and everybody in Beijing is online. They're online all the time, and there's only one app where you get all the hotel deals. So I think I think this younger generation especially just has no conception of asking around for binguans and hotels and that kind of stuff. They just go on the one app and they reserve whatever is available. And because there's a monopoly with that one app, the prices are definitely higher than they should be in China, which is such an inexpensive place. But the hotels were all easily 20 to 50 US dollars a day, which is insane. Especially when a meal is like a gourmet meal is still less than $5, and many meals, like the everyday meals, are $3, 3 US dollars. Paying 20 US dollars even, which is a cheap hotel price in Beijing right now. So weird. The apartments are maybe 300 US dollars per month still. The apartment like rents are still inexpensive. But for some reason, the hotels are expensive. I never understood that, and nobody understood that either. Like, all of my Chinese friends didn't even think of... They apparently hadn't thought about that because they had, apartments by themselves, and they've heard that so many people are leaving Beijing these days just because it's so saturated with people, and travel infrastructure is better in China, so there's a lot of online work. You don't have to be in Beijing to work. Since people are leaving, a lot of the hotels are empty. But that must be on social media, because when I was walking around, I walked around my neighborhood and every single hotel said that they were full and booked for like the next 2 weeks. It was a very odd, but also Beijing seemed less crowded to me. There definitely did seem to be far fewer people in the city than I was used to. So I'm thinking it must be the same thing. Like, all the young Chinese people there must be enough young Chinese people coming in, and they just use the one app to book the available hotels. But if they walked around, I mean, in windows, I saw advertisements written in Chinese, room for rent, call this number. And 100%, if you called that number, you'd be paying less than $5 for a private room. But it's on the center of the city, and Chinese people especially do like living in the center of the city. Face, it looks good for their reputation. What was I talking about? Okay, I talked about the hot pot already. Okay, there were so many good dishes that actually, I don't know if this was the best restaurant or even the best dish while I was in Beijing, but it was up there. Now, I love frog. I keep talking about how I eat it. There's in the soup frog, which is very good, and then there's ganguo, which is in a dry pot, so it's like stir-fried without soup. And then there's this mix that's in a tray, so there's like a centimeter of the red soup in there, but the frog itself is spiced and then fried and then just put on that bed of spicy soup, but most of the mountain of frog is sticking outside. So good friend Terry invites me to dinner, and he went to the hot pot place first. I don't know what it is, but I swear to goodness, when someone is like, oh, let's go to this place, it's really good, that's all they have to say, and I'm like, crap, it's not a good restaurant. In China, that happens so much. I don't know I don't know if it's a visual cue or... No, they're texting me. I don't know if it's a grammatical cue or what. However they say it, I can almost instantly tell if it's a famous restaurant that's probably not going to be good or an actually good restaurant that they like. And I felt that when Terry took me to his fish hot pot place, but I was wrong. That was pretty good. But then this second place just sounded like a hot spot, like a popular place. And he wanted to show me off, like his work, show off his work neighborhood to me. And this is like the best restaurant in that neighborhood, according to all the reviews. So I'm skeptical already. And then when we showed up and I saw it, the sign was very new and there was a lot of flashing lights and there was a ton of tables and not many people inside and so many waitresses. And I was like, uh-oh, man. He was like, no, I swear. It has like 1,500 5-star reviews. It's very good. And I was like, okay. And we tried it and it was not good. It was very expensive. And That's about all I can say for it. We did go into the supermarket first and get some beers. That is a nice thing about China. You can still just go to the supermarket and buy beers and then walk into a super fancy restaurant with a grocery store plastic bag full of your own alcohol, so you don't have to pay $6 for one beer at the fancy restaurant. You just buy it for 30 cents across the street. And the beers were good, and we got like 4 fancy dishes. Terry wanted to order a lot. I think maybe we only got 2, because I was like, let's get 2 and try them, and then if we like it, we'll get more. And we got the cold sliced beef in brown sauce, which can be extremely good, and the meat was not good quality. It was clearly pre-frozen and fatty, but not balanced well. It was just chewy. It was just too rapidly thawed, overcooked, chewy, pre-frozen meat. It was crappy. In the beginning, we were both like, yeah, it's not bad. But after we had a few pieces, me and Terry were like, it's really bad. But by that point, I had ordered the test dish, ganbian doujiao, dry fried string beans, twice dry fried. It's a difficult dish to cook correctly. You have to fry the beans first in oil until they are dry, until the water is out of those beans before you fry it with the meat, so that both are actually dry and crispy when you eat them. And like I said, I think this is the first time I was in Beijing that I could not find a very good restaurant. I found one that was okay. But boy, when they brought this one, I tried a bean and I was like, oh no. And Terry tried and he was like, oh, what? Why is it so bad? And I explained the process I just explained to you and told him they did not fry the water out of these green beans. They took a bunch of frozen green beans, threw them into oil, fried it up with the meat also at the same time, which you're not supposed to do, and then poured that onto a plate. So it's just a bunch of oily, wet beans and ground meat. And before we went into that big restaurant, I told Terry, I was like, I got a bad feeling, but he said we should try it because it has all the good reviews and he thinks it should be really good. But after we went there and he tried the ganbian doujiao, the dry fried green beans, he was like, this is shirbian doujiao. This is wet fried green beans, which is about as gross as you can imagine. Just oily, moist green beans and chewy, oily meat, which is the opposite of what it's in the title, folks. That's the opposite of what that dish should be. So after they failed that test, I was like, let's just drink these beers and go. And that was such a good decision. Rather than trying another dish, we just left. And I was like, let's just walk up the road. I bet we'll see something. And if we see something that looks really good, we'll try that. And we talked and walked and had fun. We were friends drinking beer, walking down the road, just like old times before we were old. And then I saw it. I saw this restaurant and it said it had Nuwa or something, but the sign wasn't super new. There were a lot of people in there. There was only a couple people as the waitresses, even though there were, 40 tables, whatever. And I just felt it like I do. And I said, that's the one. That's a good place. And Terry was like, I don't know. I'm kind of full. Do you want to go eat there? I'll eat if you want to eat there. And at first I was like, I don't know. We did just eat a bunch of crap. And I was like, yes, we should. I'm getting the good feeling. And they had multiple frog dishes on their menu. And I ordered the one that looked the best, and it was holy crap. It was what I was talking about earlier. They dry fry the frog first, and then they fry that in the red chili oil, and then they serve it to you with that centimeter of chili oil and just a mountain of frog. And it was a mountain. The traditional Chongqing restaurant where I talked to all the waitresses, that is a very, very good frog dish. But I didn't get as much frog as I wanted. I got a lot. There's a lot of food in that dish, no doubt. It was stacked with frogs. It was fantastic also. So I was very happy with it. I had plenty. And then I go to this place, this in the middle of nowhere place with a couple people running it. That's how you know it's going to be good. And I had twice as many frogs. I couldn't believe it when they brought it out. I was shocked. And it was cheaper than the restaurant where I was, that restaurant near my hostel. And the flavor, oh man, if you get good dry fried and then fried in chili oil, it's the opposite of Wilhelm's The Scream painting. It's the best taste in the world. And I was absolutely blown away. And I was kind of full. I had drank a bunch of beers and I had some of that crappy food. You know, we also got like jianbing or whatever, and that was the worst. It was, oh my God. They totally screwed up the chunbing. Shoot, I can't remember the name of the dish now, but it's like spring vegetables wrapped in chunbing. Chunbing should be a very thin, like somewhat transparent. You can almost see through it. Sort of pancake, I guess you would call it, but very thin, like a crepe. Thinner than a crepe, that you wrap around vegetables and there's a little bit of sauce and it's delicious. It tastes great. They basically used burritos or tortillas for their spring vegetable medley. So it's way too much bread, and the bread was stiff. Chunbing, these wafer thin slices I'm talking about, are a little bit stretchy, and they have great texture. They're chewy a little bit, but you can still bite through them. And they just served us regular crappy frozen vegetables, probably heated up, in like mission tortillas. It was insane. But we were, drinking to while away the pain, and did each have like one of the tortilla things. It was so bizarre. We were probably just eating them just to be like, is this really as bad as it seems like it is? And yes, they were. So we were kind of full already. And when they brought out that much frog, probably 5 pounds. How much frog, honestly? It had to be at least 3 pounds of frog, because the tray is huge. The tray is, I don't know, the tray is how big? 1.5 feet by maybe 8 inches. It's a large tray, and it was mountained with frog. So I was like, man, I'm not even that hungry. I can't believe how much frog this is. And then I took a bite, and then after like 2 more bites, I was like, never mind, I can eat this entire thing. We're good. And Terry looked at me with shock on his face, which was another blast from the past, because I was known for eating insane amounts of hot pot and good Chinese food back in the day whenever I went out with like my work colleagues. They were always shocked at how much I could eat, especially considering how skinny I was. But my trick was literally running marathons every other day because I was eating pounds of food. But this frog, if food is good, I will just keep eating it. And this frog was insane. Probably, you know what? I'm sorry, traditional Chongqing people, you're very cool, but I think this was the best dish I had while I was in Beijing. So much so that I think I went back to get it 2 more times with Terry. It was crazy. It was so good. And we just drank. Oh, and when I told Terry I could eat it, his face just like was a mix of confusion. He's like, but I'm so full now. And I was like, I know, but this is too good. We're just going to have to, let's do it. And I just crammed them in. And even when there was none left, I dug through the remaining soup and like looked for little pieces and found several little pieces of frog. And Terry, by that point, was just giving me every leftover piece of frog, because I could have eaten another dish of that night. It was so good. Man, I'm going to get distracted a lot in these China stores, because every time I talk about food, I'm going to want to describe it in detail so that I remember it and I can replay the visceral taste of my favorite foods. And preparation. I even love talking about the preparation of Ganbian Doujiao and the PGO Kaoya and all that stuff. Thank you so much for listening. You can talk to me at bitofarambler@gmail.com or bitofarambler on Blue Sky and Lemmy. I'm here, folks. I hope you're having a great day, and I will talk to you soon.